guys, welcome to Audrey's reading area. Alexa, what time is Audrey's reading area?
Audrey reads in her area live at 8 o'clock p.m.
Live at 8, you guys. Thanks for being here. And thanks for listening to me read fun, exciting. And today's Wednesday, so we do multicultural books, multicultural Wednesdays. So today I have a very special book that I'll be reading to you. But first, click that like button, click share. Then go on over to YouTube, look for Audrey's Reading Area, and smash that subscribe button for me. Boop! Smash it. Well, all right, you guys. The Dreamer. The Dreamer by Danny Lucio. The Dreamer. Now, it does say that the book cover design was by Sarah Book Publishing. The book cover design. So, this is Danny Lucio, a young Native American boy. Yeah. So let's jump right into this book. Ihable, please forgive me. I'm asking in advance for forgiveness if I mispronounce these words. Ihable was a little Native American boy who lived in the lush, short grass prairies of the high plains of North Dakota. Ihable was about to celebrate his 10th summer. His name was befitting of his character, for his name meant dreamer in the Lakota language. Ihable's friends would often run around and get into trouble, as young boys did. Ihable was different. Instead, he would sneak off to a quiet place to gaze up into the clouds, like gaze up into the clouds, and get lost in his dreams. He liked to dream with his eyes open. Sometimes Ihable's friends would poke fun at him and say, and curiously ask, "Why are you always sitting and thinking? Why are you always sitting and thinking? You should be playing with us. Get your head out of the clouds." The boy just smiled and answered enthusiastically, "One day I'm going to soar as high as an eagle, be as tall as a mountain, and roar as loud as a grizzly bear." His friends laughed, mocked him, and ran off. Ihable sat quietly and whispered to himself, "They'll see. Someday they'll see." Now the plains had witnessed a long period of challenging weather. The last winter had been harsh, and spring had not been very generous in delivering rain showers. The rivers were lower than the elders could remember them being. As the hot summer approached, the wild berries and edible roots were hard to find, and Tatanka, or buffalo, began to suffer. Weeks passed and still no rain fell. The people began to worry and started to look to the tribal leaders for help. The elders called a meeting, and the Itankan, or chief, spoke. "We shall send our fastest riders out on our fastest horses to find any rain clouds in the area." They sent one rider to the north, one to the south, one to the east, and one to the west. Ihable watched as the riders galloped off until they disappeared into the horizon. But the sun rose and set 2 times, but no riders returned with any news. Finally, on the third day, the little boy who had anxiously kept watch all day and night called out, "Here he comes from the north." When the first rider arrived, he announced that he did not have good news. Soon after, The rider from the east returned, and he also did not have good news. The same bad news came from the rider from the south. So listen, we got north, we got east, we got south. No good news from any of those. Hmm. Who appeared, he from the south, who appeared a few hours into the night of the third day. Hmm. When morning came on the fourth day, Ihable, who had fallen asleep near the opening of his teepee, heard the soft murmur of the horse's gallop as the last rider came into view. The little boy sat up, wiped his eyes, and quickly ran out to greet him. The rider from the west had finally made it home. He was slumped over on his horse and looked dreadfully exhausted, but he delivered some good news. A great dark cloud comes from the west, he gasped. Struggling to speak, it moves quickly. It should be here by morning. Wow. Sure enough, the very next day, just before high noon, an enormous cloud slowly crept its way across the sky from the west. The people of the tribe were very excited. As the cloud approached, the people saw just how massive and dark it was. It grumbled and rumbled as it inched closer. By that time, the rivers had almost completely dehydrated, and the buffalo was suffering. The wild berries and edible roots were very hard to find. The tribe's people were desperate. Everyone waited anxiously for the rain to quench their land's thirst, but soon something became apparent. No rain. No rain was coming from the cloud. It seemed as if the cloud was about to burst, yet it just continued to pass slowly over the land. The people of the tribe became frantic and quickly looked at the tribal leaders again for help. So that they need rain because the land is drying up. They need the rain to water it and they can grow plants and food and stuff. Oh, wow. Feed the buffalo. The chief decided to call for the 10 best archers to shoot their arrows up to pierce the cloud. The 10 strongest and the most skilled archers ran out from the crowds of the tribespeople into the center area and quickly pulled their arrows from the holsters on their back. They took out the arrow and all at once, all at once, they pulled and loosed their arrows. The sky was filled with arrows after arrow, arrow after arrow, as the young Ihable looked on in amazement. The hopefulness of the tribe quickly turned into disappointment, and their disappointment soon turned into sadness. Not one of the 100 arrows reached the cloud. All of the arrows swiftly glided back down to the earth as quickly as they went up. The Sakisitas, or warriors, hung their heads in defeat as they dragged themselves back to the place where the rest of the tribe stood. Ihable had seen what happened and could not give up without trying. While the archers made their way back, Ihable hurried to his teepee and grabbed his bow and his one arrow. One arrow. He sprung out and ran through the crowd. He wove through the archers and the tribespeople, who all looked at him with sadness and disbelief because they knew Ihable could never reach the great cloud. With arrows scattered all around him on the ground, Ihable ran as fast as his bare feet could carry him. He stopped in a clear area and gently placed the back of his single arrow to the string of his bow. He stood upright with his left leg straight and his right foot placed on the inside of his left knee. Standing on one leg, He pulled the arrow back with his left hand and steadied the bow with his right. A hush filled the air as Ihable closed one eye and aimed. He realized that he could not miss. So he opened both eyes, and just then, he let go. The arrow just went. He let go. The tribe stood still, and so did time. Time stood still. The arrow soared like an eagle through the air. The arrow rose to a towering height. As tall as a mountain, it flew higher and higher and higher and higher. The arrow finally reached the cloud and pierced it, creating a roar as loud as 100 grizzly bears. The plains trembled. The air quickly filled with raindrops that raced down to the people who were frozen in complete amazement. Ihable felt a cool chill as the first raindrop hit his shoulder. Plop! He could smell and taste the sweetness of the rain around him. The tapping sound of the rain hitting the dry, hard ground of the plains was like music to his ears. He dropped his bow, opened his palms, and let the raindrops hit his hands and his face as he looked up into the sky in awe. His toes wiggled through the soft earth as the rain quickly turned the dirt into mud. Ihable smiled, closed his eyes, and heard the cheers from his people. The boy opened his eyes, caught sight of his parents, and raced towards them. Never was there a more loving embrace than on that late afternoon in the plains between the little boy and his parents. The dreamer proved that he could soar like an eagle, be as tall as a mountain, and roar like a grizzly bear. Ihable, the dreamer, was never told to get his head out of the clouds again. Wow. The end. What a beautiful, inspiring book. Yes. Beautiful. Thanks for being here and listening to me read these fun and exciting books. Like The Dreamer. Shout out to my grandbabies, Korea, Sana, D3, and Kaden. Miss you guys so much. Love you guys so much. I pray every day that I get to see you again. And real soon. So, shout out to everybody here listening to me read. A special shout out to those who share my video and click like and then go to YouTube and smash that subscribe button on Audrey's reading area. Shout out to all of you and thank you for your love and support. And keep coming back to listen to me read more books. I got more and more and more books that I'll be reading to you every day. Live, Live. Live at 8, you guys. And I will see ya soon.